Hill, those dramatic moments. The president called Michael Cohen a liar, and he blasted Democrats for holding the hearing at all while the president was meeting with the leader of North Korea. In hours of that dramatic testimony, Cohen described the president's role in illegal hush money payoffs to former adult film actress Stormy Daniels. I want to begin with CNN's Michelle Kaczynski, who's live in Vietnam with the details of how this all fell apart overnight. Michelle.
Hi, John. One day ago, it seemed like to have come out here and done all this, surely both sides were right at the point to walk away with something, right? The only question seemed, what's it going to be? Well, now we know the surprise ending to this very Trumpian cliffhanger is nothing. This is proof that President Trump's insistence on this top-down approach to this extremely complicated, decades-long problem is not going to necessarily work out the way he expects. They could not even agree on the very definition of denuclearization, couldn't even finish this summit and have lunch together.
The president traveled 8,000 miles and comes away empty-handed. A Vietnam summit with Kim Jong-un quickly turned south, leaving the president with no distraction from Michael Cohen's damaging testimony.
They wanted the sanctions lifted in their entirety, and we couldn't do that. It was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk.
I wish we could have gotten a little bit further, but I'm very optimistic.
There were good signs early. Kim Jong-un keeping denuclearization on the table.
If I'm not willing to do that, I won't be here right now.
But after many pleasantries on camera, talks in private did not lead to any breakthrough. A working lunch and signing ceremony that had been on the schedule never happened. An abrupt end to talks overnight, with the White House saying no agreement was reached at this time, but their respective teams look forward to meeting in the future. The president did make one stunning headline, letting Kim off the hook for the death of American hostage Otto Warmbier.
Those prisons are rough. They're rough places. He tells me that he didn't know about it, and I will take him at his word.
The summit itself largely overshadowed by testimony back home.
I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Explosive allegations by Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. The president responding this morning, slamming the Democrats for holding the hearing while he was here at the summit.
But it was pretty shameful. He lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax.
Cohen's testimony upstaged any kind of progress the self-described deal maker hoped to gain in his second summit with the North Korean leader. The U.S. was hoping for more concrete steps from Pyongyang towards a deal that is verifiable and enforceable. Only time will tell now whether the future holds more of this.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
Or this.
I'd much rather do it right than do it fast.
So, yes, Trump did walk away from what could have been a bad deal. And no, he didn't give up anything, as many thought he did after the last summit when he suddenly canceled joint military exercises with South Korea. But that is a very low bar for something positive to come out of this. But at least the president says that both sides will keep on talking. And he says North Korea has promised not to conduct any more missile or nuclear tests. Allison.
Okay, Michelle, thank you very much for setting the table for us, no pun intended. Joining us now from Vietnam, we have Jim Sciutto, CNN Chief National Security Correspondent. And Jim, what I'm referring to is because the table was set for the luncheon and because reporters were waiting for the signing ceremony, clearly, at least on the U.S. side, something went wrong. I mean, the fact that they ended this abruptly, and I'm just wondering if you can give us the backstory of how it unraveled.
Well, the president made clear that the deciding issue here was that North Korea insisted on the lifting of all U.S. economic sanctions on North Korea in exchange for giving up just one nuclear facility of many there. And that was not good enough for the U.S. And listen, we are now we've entered a spin zone here. The president said he walked away, but it was a friendly walk away from the table. You have the South Koreans. You'll probably hear from North Korea soon. You have China all saying, well, the talks were constructive. We look forward to the next opportunity. But the fact is the president flew across the planet to the other side of the world for a second time in less than a year to meet face-to-face with the North Korean leader and left with no discernible agreement. And also, and this is important, no clear path as to how they bring the two sides closer together. Because if North Korea is sticking to a maximalist position, the lifting of all sanctions, and the U.S. is still demanding the complete denuclearization of North Korea, which North Korea is not offering, the question then remains, how do they get closer, bring those two positions closer? And for the president, who put a lot on the line here, put his, touted his personal relationship as definitive, this is a second time he's walked away without that personal relationship bearing fruit in these important negotiations.
Well,
and it's hard to see that as anything but a setback for this president.
I mean, in terms of your question of how to bring these two closer, we may have the answer for you. This is just crossing now. Our reporting is that President Donald Trump has just asked South Korean President Moon Jae-in to play a role in mediating dialogue between Kim Jong-un and him. This was during a 25-minute phone call. So he's asked him to intervene. That's interesting. I mean, I think that's very interesting because obviously President Trump, who prides himself on having such a warm relationship with Kim Jong-un and being a deal maker, is saying that he needs some help from South Korea's president.
He is. But let's be frank here. I mean, South Korea would have to be part of any agreement between the North and the U.S. And it's been something of a question mark as to why South Korea was not more involved. I mean, you had South Korea releasing a statement after the collapse of these talks saying that they were perplexed. They clearly had not been kept abreast of things. And a similar result at the last summit in Singapore when the president summarily suspended U.S.-South Korea military exercises, apparently without consulting South Korea. So now, perhaps somewhat belatedly, bringing South Korea into a more central role here should have already been the case, you can argue. But it also shows a president who might be acknowledging that he needs help, that the personal relationship, the art of the deal, not enough to get the two sides close and to get to the U.S. to where it wants to be.
Jim, I just want to touch on what Michelle Kaczynski reported, and that is the Otto Warmbier episode where President Trump was asked if he confronted Kim Jong-un, and he said that he believes that Kim Jong-un didn't know anything about what happened to Otto Warmbier, where he was killed, obviously, or at least into a vegetative state, in custody. And I'm just wondering if that's plausible.
Listen, an American kid, a 20-something, was taken hostage by North Korea, sent home brain dead, where he soon after died. North Korea is a serial abuser of human rights. It kills dissidents at home and abroad in numerous ways. And for a U.S. president, with the death of an American, a young American, to not hold the North Korean leader accountable is remarkable. And remember, this is not the first time this president has done that. Today, he said he takes Kim's word, takes him at his word that he's not responsible. He said in Helsinki that he takes Vladimir Putin's word that Russia did not interfere in the election, despite U.S. intelligence assessments, the opposite of that. With the brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist, the president, again, over the assessment of the U.S. intelligence community, in effect said he takes MBS's word. This is a pattern with this president. It's a disturbing pattern with this president that has received both Democratic and Republican outrage. And it was truly a remarkable moment today to watch.
Jim Sciutto, thank you very much for all of the reporting from Hanoi for us.
Thank you.
All right, the other big news this morning, the reverberations from this claim. Donald Trump was involved with crimes while being president of the United States.